The first child born on Mars will never know what it feels like to breathe fresh air. Mars, once just a distant red dot in our night sky, now humanity's next great frontier. Ever since the first moon landing in 1969, we've dreamed of going beyond, of setting foot on another planet, of not just visiting but staying. But what if Mars is not just a pit stop for exploration? What if it becomes our second home? Imagine the year 2050. The first permanent Martian colony is no longer science fiction. People don't just visit Mars for missions, they live there. Under massive domes that shield them from deadly radiation, pioneers walk through artificial cities where oxygen is carefully produced, water is extracted from underground ice, and crops grow under LED-lit hydroponic farms. Solar panels stretch for miles, providing power to underground bunkers where scientists research how to terraform the planet. But life on Mars is not easy. The temperature can drop to minus 80 degrees Celsius. Gravity is only a third of Earth's, and dust storms can last for months. Every breath of air must be manufactured, every drop of water recycled, every decision calculated for survival. Over time, the human body will begin to change, bones weakening, muscles shrinking, as generations of Martians grow up never knowing Earth's full gravity. Will they still be human in the same way we are, or will they evolve into something new? Beyond the physical challenges, there are deeper questions. Does Mars belong to Earth, or should it be an independent world? Who will make the rules? How do we prevent greed, corruption, and history from repeating itself, turning Mars into a battleground for power? Some will see it as a utopia, a fresh start. Others will see it as a colony to control. Yet despite these dangers, humanity's instinct to explore and expand is unstoppable. The first steps on Mars will mark the beginning of something far bigger than just a space mission. It will be the first step toward becoming an interplanetary species, and maybe, one day, the first step toward leaving our solar system entirely. One thing is certain, the first human to be born on Mars will look up at the sky, not seeing blue but red, and they will call it home. For centuries, humanity has looked up at the night sky and wondered what lies beyond. Mars, our neighboring planet, has always held a special place in our imagination. From early science fiction novels to modern space programs, the red planet has symbolized both mystery and possibility. Today, colonizing Mars is no longer just a dream. It is becoming a real and urgent goal. But why is this story so important? Why should humanity invest time, money, and effort into settling a distant and inhospitable world? This story matters because it represents the next great leap for humankind, a test of our ability to survive beyond Earth, a safeguard against existential threats, and an opportunity to redefine civilization itself. Mars colonization is not just about space travel. It is about our future identity and destiny as a species. One of the most compelling reasons for colonizing Mars is the need for a backup plan for humanity. Earth, while currently habitable, is vulnerable to a variety of threats, both natural and human-made. Climate change and environmental collapse, rising temperatures, melting ice caps, and extreme weather patterns suggest that Earth's environment is becoming increasingly unstable. As we struggle to combat climate change, having a second home for humanity could be a way to ensure long-term survival. Nuclear war and global conflicts, political instability, and the threat of large-scale war have always been concerns for human civilization. A global conflict involving nuclear weapons or bioterrorism could make Earth uninhabitable. A colony on Mars could preserve human culture, knowledge, and technology, ensuring that civilization continues. Asteroid impacts and cosmic disasters. History has shown that catastrophic asteroid impacts can cause mass extinctions. The dinosaurs were wiped out by such an event 66 million years ago. Colonizing Mars would reduce the risk of humanity being completely wiped out by a single disaster, the inevitable death of the sun. While this threat is billions of years away, it serves as a reminder that no planet is permanent. If humanity is to survive in the long run, we must learn how to live beyond Earth. Mars colonization provides us with an insurance policy, a way to ensure that no single catastrophe can destroy the entire human race. 2. Technological advancements and scientific progress. The challenge of colonizing Mars will push human innovation to new limits. Developing the technology to live on another planet will lead to breakthroughs that can also benefit life on Earth. Energy and sustainability. Living on Mars will require efficient energy production and storage. Advances in solar power, nuclear energy, and battery storage will not only help Mars colonists, but could also transform energy systems on Earth, making renewable energy more efficient and accessible. Water recycling and food production. Since Mars has no easily accessible liquid water, colonists will need to develop advanced water recycling methods. These innovations could help solve water shortages in drought-stricken areas on Earth. Similarly, developing hydroponic and aeroponic farming will make food production more sustainable. Medical advancements, adapting the human body to lower gravity and radiation exposure, will require groundbreaking research in genetics, biotechnology, and medicine. These discoveries could lead to treatments for osteoporosis, cancer, and other diseases on Earth. Artificial intelligence and robotics. Mars colonization will heavily rely on AI and autonomous robots to perform dangerous tasks, such as building infrastructure and mining resources. These technologies will advance industries on Earth, from manufacturing to disaster response. By pushing the boundaries of science and engineering, Mars colonization could accelerate progress that benefits both space and Earth. 3. The expansion of human civilization. For most of history, humanity has been confined to Earth. Colonizing Mars would be the first step toward becoming a multi-planetary species. But this isn't just about survival. It's about growth, evolution, and the possibility of building a better society. A fresh start for humanity. Mars presents an opportunity to build a new kind of civilization. Without centuries of political baggage, outdated institutions, or territorial conflicts, the first Martian settlers could redefine governance, economy, and society. Could Mars become a utopia free from Earth's mistakes? Or will it repeat history? A test of human adaptability. Life on Mars will be vastly different from life on Earth. Lower gravity will affect human health, artificial environments will dictate daily life, and even human culture will evolve differently. The way Martians think, work, and interact may diverge from Earth norms, leading to the rise of a new identity and way of life. Interplanetary economy and trade. Mars has vast untapped resources, including metals and minerals, that could support an interplanetary economy. In time, Mars could become a major player in space commerce, leading to trade routes between planets and the growth of an off-world economy. 4. The inspiration for future generations. Throughout history, great explorations have inspired generations to dream bigger, think beyond their limitations, and achieve the impossible. The colonization of Mars will be no different. A new era of space exploration. The first steps on Mars will be as historic as the Apollo 11 moon landing. They will ignite the imagination of millions, inspiring new scientists, engineers, and dreamers to push beyond our solar system. A unifying mission for humanity. In a time of division and conflict, Mars colonization offers a global mission that unites people across nations. Just as the International Space Station brought countries together in cooperation, Mars could be a symbol of what humanity can accomplish when working toward a shared goal. A story that will be remembered forever. The first person to step on Mars will be remembered for generations. Their words, their actions, and their struggles will become part of human history, inspiring future explorers to go even further. 5. Ethical and philosophical questions. Mars colonization raises profound questions about human existence, ethics, and responsibility. Should we terraform Mars? If we have the technology to make Mars more habitable, do we have the right to do so? Or should we preserve it as it is? Who owns Mars? The Outer Space Treaty of 1967 states that no nation can claim ownership of another planet. But as private companies like SpaceX drive space exploration, how will property rights and governance be handled? Will Mars colonists still be human? Over generations, lower gravity and radiation exposure may lead to genetic changes. If Mars-born humans develop unique traits, will they still be considered part of the same species as Earthlings? These questions will challenge our understanding of law, ethics, and even human identity in ways we've never faced before. Conclusion: a defining moment for humanity. The colonization of Mars is more than just a scientific endeavor. It is a defining moment in human history. It is about survival, progress, expansion, and inspiration. It is about proving that we are not bound to Earth, that we can adapt, innovate, and build a future beyond the stars. This story matters because it is the story of humanity's next great frontier. And one day, when a child is born on Mars and looks up at the sky, they won't see a distant world. They will see home. Introduction. Humanity's longing for the red planet. For as long as humans have looked up at the night sky, Mars has captivated our imagination. From the ancient astronomers who first charted its movements, to the modern-day engineers designing rockets to take us there, Mars has remained a symbol of mystery, challenge, and possibility. But how did we get to the point where colonizing Mars is no longer just a dream but a real tangible goal? This journey has been shaped by centuries of scientific discovery, technological innovation, and a deep-rooted desire to explore the unknown. Understanding this history helps us appreciate the monumental efforts that have led us to the brink of becoming an interplanetary species. 1. Early observations and the myth of Martian life. Long before we had telescopes or space probes, ancient civilizations already recognized Mars as a unique celestial object. Ancient civilizations before 1600s, the Babylonians, Egyptians and Greeks all observed Mars and noticed its unusual reddish hue. The Romans named it after their god of war, Mars, due to its blood-like color. Galileo's discovery, 1610s. The invention of the telescope allowed Galileo Galilei to be the first to observe Mars as a disk, rather than just a bright dot in the sky. The canals of Mars, late 1800s. In 1877, Italian astronomer Giovanni Schiaparelli claimed to have seen long thin lines on Mars, which he called canali channels. American astronomer Percival Lowell misinterpreted these as artificial canals built by intelligent Martians, fueling decades of speculation about life on Mars. The science fiction boom, early 1900s, writers like H.G. Wells' The War of the Worlds, 1898, and Edgar Rice Burroughs' A Princess of Mars, 1912, popularized the idea of Mars as a planet teeming with alien civilizations. While scientifically inaccurate, these stories inspired generations to think of Mars as a place we could one day visit, or even inhabit. 2. The space race and the first Mars missions, 1950s, 1990s. With the advent of rocketry and the Cold War, humanity's interest in space became more than just theoretical. The space race begins, 1950s, 1960s. The rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union led to rapid advancements in space technology. Although the moon was the primary focus, Mars was also considered for exploration. First Mars flybys, 1960s, 1970s. Mariner 4, 1965, the first successful flyby of Mars by NASA, capturing the first close-up images of the Martian surface. Mariner 9, 1971, the first spacecraft to orbit another planet, sending back detailed images of Martian volcanoes, canyons, and dust storms. Viking missions, 1976, the first successful landers on Mars, Viking 1 and 2, sent back images and conducted experiments to search for life. The reality check, no signs of intelligent life. The Viking landers found no clear evidence of life, dispelling the long-held myths of an advanced Martian civilization. Interest in Mars waned for a time, as scientists shifted their focus to robotic exploration. 3. The era of rovers and water discovery, 1990s, 2010s. By the late 1990s, space agencies had renewed interest in Mars, leading to a new wave of exploration. Pathfinder and Sojourner, 1997. The first successful rover landed on Mars, proving that robotic vehicles could explore the planet's surface. Spirit and Opportunity, 2004, 2019. These twin rovers found evidence that Mars once had liquid water, raising new hopes for past microbial life. Curiosity rover, 2012, present. This mission confirmed that Mars once had lakes, rivers, and possibly even an ocean, making it one of the most Earth-like planets in the solar system. The discovery of water ice beneath the Martian surface reignited the idea that Mars could one day support human life. Scientists and entrepreneurs began seriously considering colonization as a real possibility. 4. The rise of private space exploration, 2010s, 2020s. In the 21st century, space exploration shifted from being government-led to involving private companies, significantly accelerating progress. SpaceX and Elon Musk's vision. In 2002, Elon Musk founded SpaceX with the ultimate goal of making humans a multi-planetary species. SpaceX developed the Falcon 9 and Starship, rockets designed for reusable and cost-effective space travel. Musk outlined plans for a self-sustaining Martian colony, with 1 million people on Mars, by 2050. NASA's Artemis and Mars programs. NASA announced plans to return humans to the moon under the Artemis program, using it as a stepping stone for Mars missions. The Perseverance rover, 2021, successfully landed on Mars and began searching for ancient microbial. Other players in the space industry, Blue Origin, Jeff Bezos, and Boeing, are developing new space technologies. China's Tianwen-1, 2021, successfully landed its first rover on Mars, showing global interest in Martian exploration. The involvement of private companies and international space agencies has made Mars more accessible than ever before, with serious plans for crewed missions within the next 2 decades. 5. The next step, preparing for human colonization, 2020s. Future. We are now at the most critical point in Mars exploration history, on the verge of sending humans to live on another planet. Key challenges. We must overcome transportation and landing. Starship and other spacecraft must prove they can safely land and return from Mars. Life support systems. Mars has no breathable air, and colonists will need sustainable sources of oxygen, water, and food. Radiation protection. Without a magnetic field, Mars exposes humans to harmful cosmic radiation. Mental and physical health. The lower gravity and isolation of Mars could have long-term effects on human biology and psychology. Terraforming and sustainability. Can we make Mars more Earth-like over time? If so, what are the ethical implications? Projected timeline for human missions, 2030s. First crewed mission to Mars, NASA. SpaceX, 2040s. Establishment of permanent research bases, 2050. Expansion into self-sustaining Martian colonies. Some scientists believe that terraforming Mars, modifying its atmosphere to be more Earth-like, could be possible within centuries. Others argue that the first generations of Martians will live in domes or underground shelters, adapting to a harsh but entirely new way of life. Conclusion. The dawn of an interplanetary civilization. Humanity has come a long way from simply observing Mars in the night sky to planning how to live there permanently. The journey has been filled with discoveries, challenges, and milestones that have shaped our understanding of the universe. Now we stand at the edge of history. The first humans to set foot on Mars will not just be explorers, but pioneers, laying the foundation for a future where humanity is no longer bound to Earth. Will Mars become our second home or a failed experiment? That depends on the choices we make in the coming decades. But one thing is certain, the story of Mars is no longer just science fiction. It is the story of our future. Introduction. A story bigger than ourselves. Imagine this. It's the year 2045, and you're watching a live broadcast of the first humans stepping onto Mars. A young astronaut, breathing heavily inside their suit, lifts their foot and places it on the red, dusty surface. The world watches in silence. Then they speak. This is the beginning of something greater than all of us. At that moment, something stirs inside you. This isn't just another space mission. This is history unfolding. And whether you realize it or not, this moment changes everything. Not just for those astronauts, but for you, your children, and every future generation. Mars colonization might seem distant, something only scientists and billionaires dream about. But in reality, this story belongs to all of us. It's about human survival, the future of our species, and the deep desire to push beyond our limits. This is why you should care. 1. The deepest human instinct, the need to explore. Since the dawn of time, humans have been explorers. From the first groups of early humans who left Africa, to sailors who crossed the vast oceans in search of new lands, to the Apollo 11 crew, who landed on the moon in 1969, we have always pushed beyond the horizon. Why? Because it's in our nature. Imagine if Columbus had never sailed across the Atlantic. Imagine if no one had climbed Mount Everest. Imagine if the Wright brothers had never built the first airplane. Every great moment in history has come from someone daring to go where no one had gone before. Mars is the next great frontier. If we stop now, if we say, this is far enough, then we have lost the very thing that makes us human, the drive to explore, to discover, to grow. And when the first child is born on Mars, when they take their first steps in a low-gravity environment, they will be living proof that humanity was never meant to stay in one place. That's why this matters to you. Because deep down, you are an explorer too. A second home, your future, your family's future. Have you ever wondered what will happen to future generations? To your children, your grandchildren, and their grandchildren. Earth is beautiful, but it is fragile. Climate change is already threatening food supplies, fresh water, and global stability. Nuclear war or pandemics could devastate humanity. Asteroid impacts have wiped out entire species before, and could do so again. Right now we have all our eggs in one basket. If something happens to Earth, we have nowhere else to go. But Mars gives us an alternative, a backup plan for humanity. It may not happen in your lifetime, but one day, a family, maybe even someone descended from you, will board a spacecraft, leave Earth, and start a new life on Mars. If Mars becomes habitable, it will double humanity's chances of survival. That means your descendants, centuries from now, could have a future filled with opportunity, adventure, and a life beyond Earth. Wouldn't you want to be part of the generation that made that possible? 3. The technological revolution, how Mars changes life on Earth. Even if you never set foot on Mars, the journey to colonize it will change your daily life in ways you can't even imagine. Every major space mission has led to groundbreaking innovations that benefit everyone, not just astronauts. The Apollo moon missions led to GPS technology, wireless headsets, improved medical imaging, MRI and CT scans. The International Space Station led to water purification systems used in disaster zones, robotic limbs for amputees, fire-resistant materials for homes. Now imagine what Mars colonization will bring. Breakthroughs in renewable energy, making Mars habitable requires new ways to generate power. These innovations could solve Earth's energy crisis. Advanced water filtration system. If we learn how to extract water from Mars, we can make clean drinking water available to millions on Earth. AI-driven automation. Mars will need robotic systems to build and maintain infrastructure. These advancements could revolutionize industries like manufacturing, transportation, and medicine. By investing in Mars, we are investing. The benefits will return to us many times over, improving the quality of life for people everywhere. So even if you never leave this planet, Mars will still change your life. 4. A new society, the opportunity to do things differently. What if you had a chance to rewrite the rules of society? Mars is a blank slate, no borders, no politics, no history of war, corruption, or division. What if we could build a better society, one that learns from Earth's mistakes? A place where education is free and accessible to all. A world where governments work together instead of against each other. A society where scientific progress and sustainability are top priorities. Mars is our chance to start over, to create a civilization from scratch, designed for the future instead of stuck in the past. Of course it won't be easy. There will be challenges, disagreements, and new struggles, but the people who go to Mars will define what it means to be Martian. Wouldn't you want to witness the birth of a new world, where humanity can rise to something greater than ever before? 5. The emotional connection. The story of us all at its core. The story of Mars is not about rockets or technology, it's about people, it's about us. The engineer, who dreamed of space travel as a child, and now builds rockets. The astronaut who risked everything to set foot on an alien world. The future Martian child who will grow up never knowing Earth. This story belongs to you as much as it belongs to them. Because every time humanity takes a step forward, we all move forward together. Think back to the moon landing in 1969. It wasn't just about the astronauts. It was about everyone watching, feeling like they were part of something bigger than themselves. Now imagine that same feeling, but for Mars. When the first humans land on the red planet, when they raise a flag and say, "We are here," it will be a victory for all of humanity, and you will have been part of the generation that made it possible. Conclusion. This story is your story. Mars is not a distant dream, it's happening now. In your lifetime, the first humans will walk on Mars. In the next century, people will live, work, and raise families there. This story is about exploration, survival, and the future of civilization. But most importantly, it's about you. Because whether or not you ever set foot on another planet, the choices we make today, about space technology, and our future, will shape the world your children and grandchildren live in. So the next time you look up at the night sky, and see that small red dot, remember, it's not just Mars, it's the next home for humanity. Introduction. A question that defines the future. What if you woke up one morning to the news that humans had finally set foot on Mars? Would you feel excitement, pride, curiosity, or would you dismiss it as just another headline in a world filled with endless news cycles? The truth is, the colonization of Mars is not just a story about space, it is a story about us, about who we are as a species, where we are going, and whether we have the courage to take the next great leap. But why should you care? Why should any of us think about something that might seem distant, even unrealistic? Because the choices we make today will determine whether humanity stays on Earth forever, or becomes a civilization that reaches beyond our home planet, and that is a question worth thinking about. 1. What if we are at the most important turning point in history? Throughout human history, there have been moments that changed everything. The invention of fire, the birth of agriculture, the discovery of electricity, the first powered flight, the first steps on the moon. Each of these moments marked a before and after in our story. They redefined what was possible, opening doors to new ways of living, working, and thinking. What if Mars is the next great moment? What if this is the time when humanity stops being a single planet species and takes its first steps towards something much bigger? If that's true, if we are living at the turning point where humans finally leave Earth, then it's our responsibility to think about what that means. How should we approach it? What kind of society do we want to build on Mars? How do we make sure we don't repeat the mistakes of the past? If we don't ask these questions now, when will we? 2. What happens if we don't go? It's easy to think of Mars colonization as an optional challenge, something exciting but not necessary. But what if the real question is not why should we go, but what happens if we don't? Right now, Earth is the only place where humans can survive, but Earth is not invincible. What if climate change accelerates faster than we can control? What if an asteroid strike wipes out most of civilization? What if war, pandemics, or resource depletion make Earth increasingly uninhabitable? Throughout history, civilizations have collapsed,
because they failed to adapt to changing conditions. The difference is that, in the past, people could move, migrating to new lands, finding new opportunities. But today, we have nowhere else to go. Wouldn't it be wise to at least prepare for the possibility that Earth won't always be safe? Wouldn't it be irresponsible not to think about the long-term survival of humanity? Mars colonization may not solve all of Earth's problems, but it gives us a future beyond Earth, and that alone is reason enough to think about it. 3. How will this change our understanding of ourselves? Imagine for a moment that you were born on Mars. You grow up in a low-gravity world, never knowing what it feels like to run under Earth's full gravity. The sky above you is red instead of blue. Your home is not a country, but a planet that no humans had ever lived on before. Would you feel connected to Earth, or would you see yourself as something new, something different? If Mars becomes a permanent colony, it won't just change where we live, it will change who we are. Will Martians think of themselves as humans, or as something else? Will they create their own culture, language, and traditions? Will future generations look back on Earth the way we look back on ancient civilizations, as a distant past? This isn't just a scientific experiment, it's the beginning of a new branch of human civilization, and we have the chance, right now, to shape that future, to decide what kind of society we want to create beyond Earth. But if we don't think about it, that future will shape itself, without us. 4. What role will private companies and governments play? One of the biggest changes in space exploration today is that it's no longer just governments leading the way. Private companies like SpaceX, Blue Origin, and Boeing are investing billions into making Mars a reality. That raises an important question. Who should control Mars? Should it be governed like a country, with its own laws and leaders? Should it be owned by corporations, with private companies deciding how people live? Should it be a scientific outpost, focused only on research and exploration? If we don't think about this now, it's possible that Mars could become a place of inequality, corporate control, or even conflict, just like many places on Earth. We've seen what happens when powerful groups take control of new lands, without considering the consequences. Mars gives us a rare second chance to do things differently, but only if we actively think about and plan for what kind of society we want it to be.
5. What if you are part of this future? Many people assume that Mars colonization is something for scientists, astronauts, or billionaires, but not for regular people. But what if that's not true? Right now, engineers and designers are working on the first Martian cities. Scientists are developing new ways to grow food, produce water, and generate power on Mars. Educators are training the next generation of space explorers, builders, and thinkers. And here's the thing. The first people to go to Mars are already alive today. Maybe it's a child sitting in a classroom learning about space. Maybe it's an engineer working on AI-driven robots. Maybe it's you, not as an astronaut but as a thinker, a supporter, a voice in the conversation about what Mars should be. Even if you never leave Earth, you will still be part of the generation that makes this happen. So why not think about it? Why not be part of shaping the biggest moment in human history? Conclusion: the future is ours to imagine. Mars colonization is no longer just a dream. It is a real possibility that could happen within our lifetimes. The question is not just how will we do it, but what kind of future do we want to create? Do we see Mars as a fresh start or just another colony to control? Do we build a fair and just society, or do we repeat Earth's mistakes? Do we embrace the challenge, or do we ignore it and hope it never affects us? The choice is ours, and that's why this story matters. Because the decisions we make today, how we invest in space, how we govern new worlds, how we think about the future, will define what it means to be human for generations to come. So what do you think? Should humanity become a multi-planetary species? Should Mars be independent or controlled by Earth? And most importantly, are you ready to be part of the greatest journey in human history? Possible impacts: how this story will change the world. Introduction: a defining moment for humanity. The colonization of Mars is not just another space mission. It is a turning point in human history. Just as the moon landing in 1969 changed our perspective on what was possible, sending humans to Mars will redefine our place in the universe, our technological progress, and our understanding of ourselves. But what exactly will change? How will the world, our economies, societies, technologies, and even our identities be affected by the decision to colonize another planet? The truth is, the impact of Mars colonization will extend far beyond space travel. It will touch nearly every aspect of our lives, whether we ever set foot on the red planet or not. 1. A revolution in science and technology. The challenges of surviving on Mars will drive scientific breakthroughs that benefit not just space travelers but everyday people on Earth. Advancements in renewable energy. Since Mars has no fossil fuels, colonists will need to rely entirely on solar and nuclear energy. This will push forward research into more efficient solar panels, energy storage solutions, and fusion power, which could solve Earth's own energy crisis. Medical innovations. Living on Mars means dealing with radiation exposure, low gravity, and extreme conditions. Research into protecting human DNA, developing new medical treatments, and even genetically modifying humans for space adaptation could lead to cures for cancer, osteoporosis, and other diseases. Water purification and food sustainability. Since water on Mars is frozen underground, colonists will need advanced filtration and extraction systems. These systems could revolutionize clean water access on Earth, especially in drought-affected areas. Similarly, new methods of hydroponic and aeroponic farming, designed to grow food in space, could help combat world hunger by allowing food to be grown in urban environments, deserts, and even disaster zones. AI and robotics. Mars will be built by robots and AI-driven machines, because human labor will be too limited. These advancements will automate industries on Earth, making construction, manufacturing, and logistics more efficient. In short, Mars will push the boundaries of science and we will all benefit from it. 2. The birth of a new economy, a multi-planetary economy. The moment Mars becomes self-sustaining, we will see the rise of an interplanetary economy. This will include mining for rare metals. Mars and its moons may contain valuable resources. Tourism and space travel, for the ultra-rich at first, then for everyday people. Manufacturing in space, producing materials that require low gravity. Companies investing in Mars today, SpaceX, Blue Origin, Boeing, and others, are not just doing it for science, they are laying the foundations for the next trillion-dollar industry. Job creation on Earth and beyond. Mars colonization will create millions of new jobs, from rocket engineers to AI programmers, space architects to Martian farmers. The demand for new skills will redefine education, encouraging young people to study STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, and math. The first Mars settlers will be highly trained scientists, but eventually, they will need teachers, artists, and business leaders. If Mars succeeds, it could open a new frontier of career opportunities, not just for astronauts but for ordinary people. Would you take a job on Mars? In 50 years, that might not be such a crazy question. 3. A shift in global politics and power. Space becomes the new geopolitical battleground throughout history. Powerful nations have competed for new lands and resources. Mars will be no different. Will the first Mars colony be controlled by Earth? Will the US, China, and private corporations compete for control? Should Mars declare independence? The Outer Space Treaty of 1967 states that no nation can own another planet. But as history has shown, laws are often rewritten when money and power are involved. If Mars is successfully colonized, we may see new space alliances, new conflicts over resources, and even the rise of Martian nationalism. The first Martian government. One of the most fascinating impacts of Mars colonization will be the question, what kind of government will Mars have? Will it follow Earth's democratic systems? Will it be controlled by corporations like SpaceX? Will it create an entirely new political system? Mars gives humanity a second chance to build a society from scratch. If done right, it could become a utopia free from war, corruption, and inequality. Or it could become a dystopia controlled by a powerful elite. What happens will depend on the choices we make today. 4. The psychological and cultural impact. A new identity. Are Martians still human? As Mars colonies grow, their people will develop different habits, cultures, and even physical traits due to low gravity and isolation. Over generations, Mars-born humans may have longer, weaker bones due to reduced gravity, develop different ways of speaking due to isolation from Earth, see Earth as a distant old world, not their home. Would future Martians still consider themselves Earthlings, or would they see themselves as a new branch of humanity, a new space religion? Whenever humans settle new lands, they develop new beliefs, philosophies, and religions. On Mars, with Earth millions of kilometers away, new religions could emerge, ones that see Mars as a sacred second home for humanity. Would Martians worship the first pioneers? Would they develop spiritual traditions based on the stars? It's impossible to predict, but history suggests that new worlds create new cultures. 5. The most important question, what if we succeed? Let's imagine the best-case scenario. By 2100, Mars is home to 1 million people. Cities have been built, industries are thriving, and humans have officially become a multi-planetary species. At that moment, something profound happens. Mars becomes a launch pad for even greater exploration. If we can live on Mars, why not Titan, Europa, or beyond our solar system? The success of Mars colonization could mark the beginning of humanity's journey across the stars. We could become a galactic civilization, one that explores, expands, and thrives in ways we can't even imagine today. And it all starts with one mission, one landing, and one small colony on a cold red world. Conclusion: a future we can't ignore. The colonization of Mars is not just about space, it's about technology, economy, politics, psychology, and the very nature of humanity itself. It will revolutionize science and technology, create new industries and jobs, reshape global politics, change human culture and identity, lay the foundation for future space exploration. The question is not if Mars colonization will happen, but when and how we choose to shape it. So, what kind of Mars do we want? What kind of future are we building? And how will this moment be remembered in the centuries to come? One thing is certain: the first human to be born on Mars will never know an Earth-bound world. For them, Mars will not be a distant dream, it will be home. The importance of discussion: why we must talk about Mars colonization. Introduction: a future decided by our conversations. Imagine waking up one morning to the news that the first humans have landed on Mars. The images flood your screen: astronauts stepping onto the red dusty surface, their voices crackling over a weak signal from 225 million kilometers away. A global celebration erupts. But then, more questions arise. Who controls Mars? How will people survive there? Will it be a free society, or one controlled by corporations? Will it be a utopia, or will the same mistakes of Earth be repeated? The answers to these questions won't be decided by scientists alone, nor by governments or billionaires, but by the conversations we have today. Mars colonization is not just a scientific challenge, it is a human challenge, one that requires the input of philosophers, economists, teachers, students, and everyday people. The future of Mars, and our future as a species, depends on open discussion, debate, and shared vision. 1. Who will decide the rules of a new world? The need for ethical and political discussions. Right now, there is no government on Mars, no laws, no constitution. That means we are at a unique moment in history. We have the chance to shape a new society before it exists. If we don't discuss these questions now, decisions will be made without public input. And history shows that when powerful groups control new lands, the results are often inequality, exploitation, and conflict. Key questions we should be talking about: who should govern Mars? Should it be a democracy, a corporate-run society, a scientific research outpost? Should Mars belong to Earth, or should it be independent? If so, when should it declare independence? What rights will Martians have? Should they follow Earth's human rights laws, or create their own? Will Mars have an economy? If so, who controls the resources and wealth? If we fail to discuss these topics, Mars could become a corporate dystopia, where only the wealthy or privileged can thrive. Or worse, it could become a battlefield of competing nations and ideologies, repeating the mistakes of colonial history. By talking about these issues now, we have a chance to influence how Mars is governed before the first permanent settlers arrive. 2. How will this impact life on Earth? Even if you never leave Earth, Mars colonization will change your life. That's why it's crucial for people from all backgrounds, not just scientists or astronauts, to join the conversation. Major earthly consequences of Mars colonization: the space economy will change global markets. Private companies like SpaceX, Blue Origin, and others will shape the future of space travel, mining, and interplanetary trade. The rise of a space-based workforce could change the job market, requiring new skills and education. Environmental innovations could save our planet. Mars will push advancements in sustainable energy, water purification, and food production. These technologies can be used on Earth to combat climate change, provide clean water, and feed growing populations. Never call it in its social changes will follow. Space exploration might shift power away from traditional governments toward private space corporations. There could be conflicts between Earth-based governments and Mars-based settlers over independence and resource ownership. These issues affect all of us. We must discuss them before they spiral out of control. 3. What kind of society should we build? Mars presents a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
the chance to design a society from scratch. Lessons from Earth's history. Many past human explorations led to colonization, oppression, and war. Can we avoid repeating those mistakes on Mars? Early space exploration was dominated by superpowers like the US and the Soviet Union. Should Mars belong only to the most powerful nations, or should all of humanity have a say? What we must decide together: should Mars have a money-based economy, or should it function on shared resources? How will education, healthcare, and basic rights be handled? Should Martians still follow Earth's laws, or create their own legal system? If we don't have these discussions now, we risk Mars becoming a place of inequality, control, and conflict, rather than a fresh start for humanity. 4. The psychological and ethical challenges of Mars life. Life on Mars will be isolating, dangerous, and psychologically challenging. How will humans adapt to living in a small, confined environment? What happens if someone commits a crime on Mars? Where will they be punished? How do we prevent extreme loneliness, depression, or even rebellion among settlers? Discussions on mental health, ethics, and human rights must take place before the first colonists set foot on the planet. If we send people to Mars without understanding the psychological consequences, we risk disaster. 5. The future of humanity depends on these conversations. Will we stay on Earth forever? One of the biggest questions in human history is, are we meant to stay on one planet, or are we destined to explore the universe? If Mars is colonized successfully, it will be the first step toward interstellar exploration. But how do we approach that responsibly? Should humans terraform Mars? Do we have the right to change another planet's ecosystem? Should we send AI and robots first to prepare for human arrival? If we find microbial life on Mars, should we leave the planet untouched? These ethical dilemmas need to be discussed by all of humanity, not just a small group of decision makers. 6. The importance of public engagement. What happens if we ignore the conversation? If we don't actively discuss Mars colonization, then war decisions will be made without public input. Corporations and governments will have full control over the future of Mars. The first settlers may have no say in their own rights and freedoms. Instead, we should encourage open debate and education about Mars exploration. Push for global policies that ensure Mars is not controlled by a single group. Think about the long-term consequences, not just the short-term excitement. The future of Mars belongs to everyone. It should not be shaped by a select few behind closed doors. Conclusion. A conversation that shapes the future Mars colonization is more than just a scientific challenge. It is a human challenge. It raises questions about governance, ethics, survival, economy, and human identity. The more we discuss these issues now, the more likely we are to create a fair, sustainable, and inspiring future beyond Earth. So ask yourself, what kind of society should we build on Mars? Who should have the right to make decisions about life on another planet? Are we ready for the responsibility of expanding beyond Earth? These are questions worth discussing, because in the end, the future of Mars is not just about space exploration, it's about the future of humanity itself. Personal connection, how this affects every individual. Introduction. More than just space exploration, it's easy to think of Mars colonization as a story about astronauts, scientists, and billionaires. After all, most of us won't be boarding a spaceship to Mars anytime soon. But what if I told you that Mars colonization directly affects you, your future, your job, your children, and even the way you think about life? Whether or not you ever leave Earth, this moment in history will shape your daily reality, from technology and jobs to human rights, the economy, and even the way we define what it means to be human. So, why should you care? Because Mars is not just a space mission, it's the next chapter of humanity's story, and you are a part of it. 1. Your future and your children's future. The next generation will grow up in a world where Mars is a reality. Think about how much the world has changed in the past 50 years. In 1969, people watched the moon landing on black and white TVs. In the 1990s, the internet was a new concept. Today, we carry supercomputers in our pockets and talk to AI assistants. Now imagine what the next 50 years will bring. By 2075, children will grow up knowing humans live on another planet. Some of them may even dream of moving to Mars the way past generations dreamed of moving to new countries. That means education will change. Schools will teach about interplanetary life, just as they now teach geography and history. More career choices will evolve. New jobs will exist, from Martian architect to space resource economist. Space travel may become as common as international flights. Just as flying across the world was once a luxury, visiting space could become part of normal life. Even if you never step foot on Mars, your children or grandchildren might. 2. Your job. and the economy will be transformed. The colonization of Mars will create entirely new industries, just as past technological revolutions changed the global job market. New careers and opportunities. Right now, Mars is just a dream, but soon it will need workers, not just astronauts, but engineers and scientists, designing life support systems, spacecraft and energy solutions, doctors and psychologists, caring for the health of Mars settlers, farmers and biotechnologists, growing food in a completely new environment, construction workers and architects, building homes and infrastructure on another planet, lawyers and politicians, creating laws for a new world. Even if you don't work in space-related fields, industries on Earth will evolve as a result of Mars colonization. For example, artificial intelligence and automation, AI-powered robots will build Mars cities, but these same technologies will also revolutionize construction, healthcare, and transportation on Earth. Sustainable energy solutions. The need for renewable energy on Mars will accelerate breakthroughs in solar power, nuclear fusion, and battery storage, benefiting Earth's energy crisis. Space mining and resources. Asteroid and planetary mining could create a trillion-dollar industry, providing rare metals for Earth's growing technological needs. The decisions made today about Mars will shape the economy of tomorrow, and your career may be part of it. 3. Mars technology will improve your life on Earth. How space innovation always comes back to us. Every major space exploration project has led to groundbreaking technology that changed everyday life. The Apollo missions led to GPS, solar panels, and medical imaging (MRI) scans. The International Space Station led to water purification systems used in disaster zones. Mars missions will lead to new medical treatments, AI systems, and sustainable food production methods. How Mars will help solve Earth's biggest problems: clean water for everyone. Mars colonists must recycle every drop of water, which will drive the development of advanced filtration systems. These could solve water scarcity in drought-stricken areas on Earth, ending world hunger. Growing food on Mars means perfecting hydroponic and aeroponic farming. These methods can make food production more efficient and reduce waste, helping feed billions of people. Fighting climate change. Technologies developed to make Mars livable will also help combat pollution, greenhouse gases, and energy crises on Earth. Even if Mars fails as a colony, the innovations it produces will make life better for everyone. 4. The psychological and ethical questions affecting everyone. What happens when humans live on two planets? Mars colonization raises deep philosophical and ethical questions that will change the way we think about life, identity, and human rights. Are Mars-born humans still Earthlings? If someone is born on Mars and never visits Earth, will they feel like a different species? Should Martians have their own government? Will they follow Earth's rules, or will they create a new civilization with different laws? Will humans evolve differently on Mars? Low gravity, radiation exposure, and artificial environments might cause biological and psychological changes over generations. These are not just questions for astronauts. They affect all of humanity because they redefine what it means to be human. 5. How this connects to you right now. Even if Mars seems distant, the conversations and decisions happening today will shape the world you live in. If you care about jobs and the economy, Mars will influence future industries. If you care about climate change and sustainability, Mars technology will provide solutions. If you care about human rights and ethics, Mars will redefine governance and freedom. If you care about science and progress, Mars is the ultimate frontier of discovery. You don't have to be a scientist, astronaut, or billionaire to be part of this conversation. Your opinions, discussions, and even the way you vote or support space exploration efforts shape the decisions being made right now. Mars is not just about space, it's about the future of humanity, and that includes you. Conclusion. The future is being written. Are you paying attention? Imagine that in 50 years someone asks you, where were you when humanity first stepped onto Mars? Will you remember it as just another news story? Or will you be able to say, I was part of the generation that made it possible? The future of Mars colonization is not just a fantasy, it is happening right now, and whether or not you ever set foot on another planet, your life will be shaped by it. This is your chance to be part of something bigger than yourself. So ask yourself, what kind of world do you want to build? Should Mars belong to all of humanity, or just the elite? What role do you want to play in the greatest adventure of our time? Because whether you realize it or not, this is your future too. Call to action. What you can do right now. Introduction. The future is in your hands. Mars colonization is no longer just a dream. It is a reality being built right now. Governments, private companies, and scientists are making decisions that will shape the future of space travel, the economy, and human civilization itself. But here's the truth. You don't have to be an astronaut, billionaire, or scientist to make an impact. The future of Mars, and humanity's place in the universe, depends on the actions of everyday people. The choices you make, the conversations you have, and the support you give to space exploration will determine whether Mars becomes a beacon of human progress or a missed opportunity. So what can you do right now? Here are 5 concrete actions you can take today to be part of this journey. 1. Educate yourself and others why it matters. The more people understand the importance of Mars colonization, the more likely it is that governments, businesses, and global leaders will invest in it. Public interest drives funding, policy decisions, and technological innovation. What you can do today: stay informed. Follow news about space exploration, NASA, SpaceX, and international space agencies. Read books, watch documentaries, and listen to podcasts about Mars and space travel. Yurkan knowledge. Talk to friends, family, and coworkers about Mars exploration. Share articles and videos on social media. Start discussions, and make space a mainstream topic. Yurkan engage in public discussions. Attend science events. Participate in online forums, and ask questions. The more people who engage in these conversations, the more awareness we build. Resources to get started. The Case for Mars, by Robert Zubrin. SpaceX Mars Colonization Plan. YouTube. NASA's Mars Exploration Program. NASA.gov. Knowledge is power. The more people understand why Mars matters, the stronger the support for space exploration will be. 2. Support space exploration initiative. Why it matters. Mars missions require funding and political support. If people show interest, governments and private companies will invest more resources into space exploration. What you can do today: advocate for space funding. If you live in a country with a space program, contact your representatives and ask them to support increased funding for space exploration. You can donate to space research organizations, support nonprofit organizations working on space education and research. Buy stock in space companies. If you invest in stocks, consider supporting companies like SpaceX, Blue Origin, or Boeing, which are leading the charge in space travel. Where to start? Write to government representatives about increasing space funding. Support organizations like the Mars Society or Planetary Society. Explore investment options in the private space sector. Mars colonization isn't just about scientists, it's about public support. If we show governments and companies that space matters to us, they will prioritize it. 3. Pursue careers or skills related to space exploration. Why it matters. You don't have to be an astronaut to be part of space exploration. Mars colonization will require engineers, doctors, architects, programmers, farmers, AI specialists, and even artists. What you can do today: if you're a student, consider studying space-related fields like engineering, physics, robotics, biology, or environmental science. If you're a professional, learn how your field could connect to space. Even business, law, psychology, and design will play a role in future Mars missions. If you want to learn more, take online courses in space technology, AI, or sustainability to prepare for new job opportunities. Resources for learning: MIT OpenCourseWare, Aerospace Engineering, free online courses, SpaceX career opportunities, SpaceX.com, NASA Space Architect Program. No matter what field you work in, there is a place for you in the future of space exploration. 4. Get involved in space communities and projects. Why it matters. There are already thousands of people worldwide working on space-related projects, and many of them welcome contributions from the public. What you can do today: join space enthusiast groups, become a member of organizations like the Mars Society, Planetary Society, or Space Frontier Foundation. You can volunteer for citizen science projects. NASA and other organizations often have projects where regular people can analyze space data, help classify stars, or even design experiments. You can face events and conferences. Many events are open to the public and allow people to connect with leading scientists and engineers. Where to start? The Mars Society, a global community dedicated to Mars colonization. Zooniverse, citizen science projects, where anyone can help with space research. International Astronautical Congress, a global space conference open to students and professionals. By engaging with these communities, you become part of the conversation and help shape the future of space exploration. 5. Inspire others and dream bigger. Why it matters. The biggest limitation to Mars colonization isn't technology, it's human ambition. The only reason we haven't gone yet is because we haven't made it a priority. What you can do today: encourage young people to dream of space. Talk to children, students, or young professionals about space careers. You can challenge limiting beliefs. If someone says Mars is impossible, Ask why. The only way we progress is by pushing boundaries. Think about the big picture. Imagine what Mars could mean for future generations. Start asking, what can we do differently? Who will be the first Martian? Right now, the first humans who will live on Mars are already alive today. Some of them might be sitting in a classroom, dreaming about space. Others might be working in a lab, designing future life support systems. And some of them might be reading this article right now, wondering how they can be part of something bigger than themselves. Conclusion: your role in the greatest adventure of our time. You don't have to be a scientist. You don't have to be a billionaire. You just have to care.
The decisions we make today about space, technology, and exploration will define the future of humanity. So ask yourself, do I want to be part of the generation that expands beyond Earth? What can I do to support space exploration? What kind of future do I want for myself and my children? Mars colonization is happening. The only question is, will you be part of it? Now is the time to act. Because when history is written, you'll want to say, I was there, I helped make it happen. The Martian environment, a new world in the making introduction. A land of challenges and possibilities. Imagine standing on the surface of Mars. The sky above you is a hazy orange-red, a dust-filled atmosphere making the horizon seem blurred and distant. Beneath your feet, fine rust-colored dust stretches in every direction, untouched for millions of years until now. The landscape is both breathtaking and hostile, filled with towering mountains, deep canyons, and vast plains that have never seen rain. This is Mars, the first new world that humanity is preparing to call home. But what is it really like? How will humans survive in such an extreme environment? And what significance does this alien land hold for the future of our species? To understand Mars, we must explore its environment, resources, challenges, and potential for transformation. 1. The surface of Mars, a harsh but beautiful landscape. A cold and dusty desert, Mars is often described as a frozen desert. While it may look similar to Earth's deserts, it is far more extreme. Temperature ranges from -80 degrees Celsius, -112 degrees Fahrenheit, at night to 20 degrees Celsius, 68 degrees Fahrenheit, near the equator during the warmest hours. Most of the time, it's well below freezing. Atmosphere, thin and unbreathable, 96% carbon dioxide, with almost no oxygen. Any human exposed to it without a spacesuit would die within minutes. Gravity. Only 38% of Earth's gravity, meaning objects and people weigh much less. Walking would feel strange, and over time the lower gravity could change human physiology. Geographical features, a world of extremes. Despite its harsh conditions, Mars has some of the most spectacular landscapes in the solar system. Olympus Mons, the tallest volcano in the solar system, 3 times the height of Mount Everest. Valles Marineris, a canyon system 10 times longer and 5 times deeper than the Grand Canyon. The polar ice caps, layers of water ice and frozen carbon dioxide that expand and shrink with the seasons. For settlers, these features will define where and how we build our first Martian cities. The presence of underground ice deposits could be crucial for survival, as water will be one of the most valuable resources. 2. The air and weather, a world of dust and storms. The thin, deadly atmosphere. Mars's atmosphere is less than 1% the density of Earth's. This means there is no protection from deadly solar radiation. Sound travels differently. Speaking would feel muted, and even machinery would sound strange. The sky appears reddish pink, unlike Earth's blue sky, due to the fine dust that fills the air. Dust storms. A constant threat, Mars is infamous for its massive dust storms, some of which can cover the entire planet for weeks. These storms can block out sunlight, disrupting solar power generation, create strong winds, though not as powerful as on Earth, due to the thin atmosphere. Make navigation difficult, as visibility drops to near zero. Surviving on Mars means finding ways to predict and protect against these storms, especially for early settlers who will rely heavily on solar energy. 3. Water on Mars. The key to survival, where is the water? For years, scientists debated whether Mars had water. Now we know, frozen water ice, beneath the surface and in polar caps. Salty brines, small amounts of liquid water that may form in some regions. Ancient riverbeds, evidence of lakes and oceans that existed billions of years ago. Why water is the most valuable resource? Water is essential for survival, but not just for drinking. On Mars, it will be used for hydroponic farming, growing food in enclosed environments. Oxygen production, breaking water into hydrogen and oxygen for breathable air. Rocket fuel, hydrogen can be used to power return missions to Earth. Finding and extracting water will be one of the first priorities for colonists. Without it, Mars settlement is impossible. 4. Building the first Martian cities. The need for protection. Humans cannot live in the open on Mars. Radiation, extreme cold, and lack of air make it deadly. Early settlements will need to be shielded from the environment. Possible habitats: Sanlan Lovoleo, San lava tubes, large underground caves formed by ancient volcanoes, offering natural radiation protection. Sanlan Lovoleo, transparent, pressurized domes that allow humans to live and work inside while blocking harmful radiation. Thizan Lovoleo, underground bases, bunkers built beneath the surface, using Martian soil for insulation. Each option has its pros and cons, but the key is to create a livable, sustainable environment where humans can thrive. Terraforming: can Mars be made more like Earth? Some scientists believe that Mars could one day be transformed into a world with a breathable atmosphere and liquid water. The process would take centuries or longer, but could involve melting the polar ice caps to release CO falls and thicken the atmosphere, using massive mirrors to reflect sunlight and warm the planet, introducing genetically modified plants and bacteria to produce oxygen. Terraforming is a long-term dream, but for now, humans must adapt to Mars, not the other way around. 5. The psychological and social impact of living on Mars. Isolation and mental health. Mars is a cold, barren world with no life, something that could deeply affect the human mind. Colonists will face extreme isolation, knowing that Earth is millions of kilometers away. Communication delays mean messages take up to 20 minutes to travel between Mars and Earth. There will be no fresh air, no oceans, no forests, just metal walls and artificial lights. Psychologists will need to study how to keep Mars settlers mentally strong, using virtual reality, art, and social bonding techniques. The first Martians, a new identity. As generations are born on Mars, they will never know Earth firsthand. Will they still consider themselves Earthlings? Will they create new traditions, languages, and cultures? Will they one day want independence from Earth? These questions will define the social and political future of Mars, just as early settlers on Earth once shaped the nations we know today. 6. The meaning of Mars for humanity. A symbol of exploration and survival. Mars is more than just a planet, it represents a backup plan for humanity. If Earth faces a catastrophe, Mars may be our second home. The next step in human evolution, living on Mars will push human adaptability to its limits. A dream of the future. Colonizing Mars proves that nothing is beyond human reach. The beginning of a multi-planetary species. If we succeed on Mars, it won't stop there. Mars could become a launch pad for further space travel. Future missions could explore Europa, Titan, and even exoplanets and distant star systems. The first human footsteps on Mars will be one of the greatest achievements in history, one that will change the way we see ourselves forever. Conclusion: a harsh but hopeful world. Mars is an unforgiving, deadly place, but also a land of possibility. With its deep canyons, towering volcanoes, and frozen water, it is both a world of challenges and an opportunity for a new civilization. The people who step onto its surface won't just be explorers, they will be pioneers of a new era. And maybe, one day they will call it home. Key characters and elements of the Mars colonization story. Introduction. The people and forces that shape the future. Mars colonization is not just a story of rockets and technology, it is a story about people. Behind every mission, every challenge, and every breakthrough, there are visionaries, explorers, scientists, engineers, and ordinary individuals who play a crucial role in making this dream a reality. But who are the key players in this journey? What forces will shape the fate of the first Martian colony? In this section, we'll explore the real-life pioneers, the fictional settlers of the future, and the critical elements that define this historic mission. Whether it's the billionaires funding the first expeditions, the astronauts risking their lives, or the new generation born on Mars, each character plays a vital role in the greatest adventure of our time. 1. The visionaries, the people making Mars possible. Elon Musk and SpaceX. If there is one person most associated with Mars colonization, it is Elon Musk. Through SpaceX, he has developed the Starship rocket, designed to carry humans and cargo to Mars, proposed a vision for a self-sustaining Martian city by 2050, invested billions into reusable rockets, making space travel cheaper and more accessible. Musk's vision is simple but ambitious: make humanity a multi-planetary species. NASA and international space agencies. While SpaceX is leading the commercial charge, NASA, ESA, European Space Agency, and China's CNSA are also developing Mars missions. NASA's Artemis program aims to return humans to the moon as a stepping stone to Mars. The Perseverance rover, 2021, is searching for signs of past life and preparing for human exploration. International collaboration, including Russia, Japan, and India, could shape a global approach to Mars colonization. Jeff Bezos and Blue Origin, Amazon's founder, Jeff Bezos, envisions a future where millions of people live and work in space. Through Blue Origin, he is developing reusable rockets and space habitats that could support Mars missions. The question remains, will Mars belong to governments, private corporations, or humanity as a whole? 2. The first Martian settlers. Who will go? The first people to set foot on Mars will not just be explorers, they will be pioneers, scientists, engineers, and survivors. The crew of the first mission, astronauts and pilots, trained for deep space travel, landing and emergency survival, engineers and technicians, responsible for setting up habitats, energy systems, and life support, scientists and doctors, studying Martian geology, testing for microbial life, and ensuring human health. These individuals will be carefully selected, not just for their skills, but for their mental and emotional resilience. Mars is a one-way ticket for many. They must be prepared for extreme isolation, psychological stress, and no immediate way back home. The first generation born on Mars, one of the most fascinating characters in this story, will be the first child born on Mars. They will be the first human never to know Earth's gravity. Their physiology may change. Weaker bones, stronger immune systems, possible genetic adaptations. They may grow up with a different sense of identity. Martian first, Earthling second. This generation will determine whether Mars becomes a true civilization or just an outpost of Earth. 3. The key challenges and forces at play surviving on Mars is not just about technology. The environment, political struggles, and human psychology will shape the fate of the colony. The harsh Martian environment, radiation exposure. Mars has no magnetic field, exposing settlers to dangerous cosmic rays. Thin atmosphere, no breathable air, requiring constant life support. Extreme cold, with temperatures dropping to -80 degrees Celsius. Survival outside a habitat is impossible. Low gravity, 1/3 of Earth's gravity, could weaken muscles and bones over time. To overcome these challenges, settlers must build underground cities, develop radiation shielding, and adapt to lower gravity lifestyles. The political struggle. Who controls Mars? As the colony grows, tensions will arise. Should Mars be governed by Earth, or should it declare independence? Should corporations like SpaceX and Blue Origin have authority over settlements? What happens if different national space agencies have competing interests? These political struggles could lead to the first Martian revolution, shaping the planet's future governance. The psychological toll of Martian life isolation from Earth. A message from Mars to Earth takes 20 minutes to arrive. Limited social interaction. The first settlers will live in small groups, unable to see new people. No natural environment, no forests, no oceans, no open sky, only artificial structures. Mental health will be one of the biggest challenges. Settlers will need virtual reality, entertainment, and psychological support to prevent depression, conflict, and social breakdown. 4. The Martian economy and society. Mars won't just be a scientific outpost forever. It will eventually become a civilization. How will Martians make money? Resource mining. Mars has valuable minerals that could be sold back to Earth. Scientific research. Governments and universities will pay for Mars-based discoveries. Space tourism. The ultra-wealthy may pay millions for a trip to Mars. Interplanetary trade. If Mars succeeds, it could become a trade hub between Earth and future space colonies. Martian culture and identity. As more people are born on Mars, they may develop a new language or accent. Mars-born humans may speak differently over generations. Unique traditions and holidays. Celebrating the first landing, surviving a Martian year, etc. New laws and governance. Will Martians follow Earth's legal systems, or create their own? The first settlers may feel like Earth's pioneers, but their children and grandchildren may see Mars as their true home. Conclusion. The story of humanity's next great leap, Mars colonization, is not just about rockets and science. It is about people, the visionaries making it possible, the settlers risking their lives to build the first Martian cities. The forces, environmental, political, and social, that will define the future of this new world. This story is still being written. The first Martians are alive today, somewhere on Earth, unaware that they will one day call another planet home. Who will they be? What challenges will they face? And how will they shape the future of humanity? That is the story of Mars, a story that is only just beginning. Tone and mood. How Mars colonization should feel. Introduction. The emotional power of a new world. Mars colonization is not just a scientific endeavor. It is an emotional journey. It is about hope, fear, determination, isolation, triumph, and the unknown. The way we talk about Mars shapes how we feel about it. Is it a thrilling adventure full of excitement and possibility, or is it a lonely, dangerous mission, filled with struggle and sacrifice? The truth is, it's both. When readers immerse themselves in the story of Mars, they should feel a blend of awe, inspiration, and deep introspection. This is not just a story of space travel, it is a story about what it means to be human. Let's explore the different moods and emotions that define this journey. 1. The grand sense of exploration and wonder-awe. At the scale of the universe, Mars represents humanity's boldest step into the cosmos. Just like the first sailors crossing the ocean, or the Apollo astronauts landing on the moon, stepping onto Mars expands the boundaries of human experience. Mood: epic, inspiring, limitless. Tone: poetic, grand, filled with admiration. Feeling for the reader. This is the next great step for humankind. Moments that evoke this feeling. Watching the first human step onto Mars, knowing history is being made, looking up at the Martian sky, realizing that Earth is just a distant blue dot. The first sunrise over Olympus Mons, the tallest volcano in the solar system. The realization that we are no longer just an Earth-bound species. This is the feeling of standing at the edge of history, knowing that humanity will never be the same again. 2. The deep isolation and loneliness of Mars. A planet of silence. Mars is not Earth. There are no birds singing, no waves crashing, no wind in the trees, only silence, dust and the endless red horizon. Mood: haunting, eerie, isolating. Tone: reflective, melancholic, quiet. Feeling for the reader. We are alone out here. Moments that evoke this feeling. A lone astronaut staring at the empty landscape, knowing they are the only human for millions of miles. The 20-minute communication delay between Earth and Mars, making real-time conversations impossible. The first Martian-born child, growing up knowing they will never walk under Earth's blue sky. The feeling of never being able to go home, because the journey back is too long and dangerous. This is the emotional weight of leaving everything behind, a new kind of solitude that no human has ever experienced before. 3. The grit and struggle of survival. Every breath is a fight. Mars is a hostile place. Every step outside the habitat requires a pressurized suit. Every piece of equipment must work perfectly, or people will die. There is no rescue team, no emergency exits. Mood: intense, urgent, high stakes. Mood: intense, urgent, high stakes. Tone: gritty, determined, realistic. Feeling for the reader. Everything here is trying to kill us. Moments that evoke this feeling. And oxygen failure forces colonists to repair their life support system in total darkness. A dust storm blocks solar panels, leaving the colony with only hours of power left. A medical emergency arises, but there is no hospital, no way back to Earth, only what the colonists can do with what they have. A psychological breakdown. A colonist can't take the isolation anymore. Surviving on Mars is not about comfort. It is about endurance, resourcefulness, and never giving up. 4. The hope and triumph of the human spirit. A dream becoming reality. Despite the hardships, Mars colonization is a story of perseverance. Every small success is a victory for all of humanity. Mood: hopeful, uplifting, emotional. Tone: optimistic, determined, courageous. Feeling for the reader. We can do this. We can build a new world. Moments that evoke this feeling. The first plant grows on Martian soil, proving that life can exist here. A child takes their first steps in Mars's low gravity, the first human never to know Earth. A message from Earth: you are not alone. The whole world is watching, cheering for you. A solar panel field finally produces enough energy to power an entire city. These are the small victories that remind settlers why they are here. 5. The profound existential questions. What does it mean to be human? Mars is not just a physical journey, it is a philosophical and emotional journey. Mood: thought-provoking, mysterious, deep. Tone: contemplative, philosophical, poetic. Feeling for the reader. What does it mean to leave Earth behind? Moments that evoke this feeling. A colonist writes in their journal, "I will never feel rain on my skin again." The first Martian-born poet tries to capture the feeling of a world without blue skies. A group of settlers debate, should Mars remain independent, or should we stay under Earth's control? A child asks what is Earth like, but has never seen it. Mars colonization forces us to redefine what it means to be human. Do we still belong to Earth, or are we something new? 6. The overarching mood. A mix of hope and fear. Mars is not a simple story of success or failure. It is both at once. It is thrilling, terrifying, beautiful, and deeply emotional. When we look back at Earth, we feel nostalgia. When we look ahead at Mars, we feel excitement and fear. When we step onto the red soil, we feel history being made. The mood of this journey is one of greatness and sacrifice, risk and reward, the unknown and the infinite possibilities ahead. Conclusion. The feeling of stepping into the future. When a reader finishes a story about Mars, they should feel born inspired by the bravery and determination of those who dare to go, humbled by the vastness of space and the difficulty of survival, curious about what the future will bring.
Emotional, because Mars is not just a planet, it is a symbol of humanity's desire to explore, to adapt and to dream. The first steps on Mars will be more than a historical moment, they will be the beginning of a new era, a moment where we prove that no boundary, no planet, no universe is beyond our reach. Foreshadowing conflict, signs that something isn't right. Introduction, the calm before the storm. The first colony on Mars is a triumph of human ingenuity, a symbol of unity, exploration, and the relentless drive to push beyond our limits. The world watches in awe, as astronauts plant their flag on the red soil, as the first habitats rise under the shadow of Olympus Mons, and as the first crops sprout in Martian greenhouses. But beneath the surface of this great achievement, tensions are brewing. The signs are subtle at first, small malfunctions, quiet disagreements, a lingering sense of unease. Mars is an unforgiving world, and the fragile unity holding the colony together is about to be tested. What hints suggest that something is about to go wrong? What shadows lurk behind the bright future of humanity's first interplanetary settlement? 1. The psychological strain of isolation as silent pressure building life on Mars is not just a physical challenge, it is a psychological one. The colony is a closed environment, a small group of people trapped together with no escape, millions of kilometers from home. Signs of impending trouble. A colonist is seen talking to themselves, their voice tense and filled with frustration. A journal entry reads, "Some days I forget what it was like to feel fresh air. I dream of Earth, but I wake up and I'm still here." A small argument over food rations turns unusually heated. A scientist working alone in the greenhouse is discovered crying silently, staring at the plants. Everyone is doing their best to hold it together, but the cracks are beginning to show. The longer they are isolated, the thinner the line between sanity and breakdown becomes. 2. Unexplained malfunctions and growing paranoia. Machines don't fail on their own, do they? The colony depends entirely on technology, life support, power generation, food production. Everything is carefully monitored and controlled, but then things start to break down. Signs of impending trouble. The oxygen generator suddenly malfunctions for no apparent reason, forcing an emergency repair. Water levels drop unexpectedly, but no one can find a leak. Solar panels are misaligned, reducing power output, but no one remembers moving them. The AI system monitoring environmental controls begins giving contradictory readings. At first, the colonists blame the harsh Martian environment, but then the question starts to surface. Is this sabotage? Is someone trying to weaken the colony from within? A sense of paranoia creeps in. Suspicions begin to form. No one wants to say it out loud, but in whispers, they ask, what if someone here doesn't want this mission to succeed? 3. Earth is pulling the strings, and not everyone agrees. Mars independence. A dangerous idea. At first, the colony was under strict Earth control. Decisions were made by mission control on Earth, and settlers were just following orders. But as the colony grows, some begin to question Earth's authority. Signs of political tension. A colonist makes a joke about Mars declaring independence. No one laughs. A group secretly gathers in the habitat's storage room, whispering about taking control of their own future. Supplies from Earth arrive, but half of what the colony requested is missing. Resources are being restricted. A message from Earth orders the colonists to delay expansion plans, citing budget concerns. Some settlers believe Mars should be free from Earth's control. Others argue that cutting ties would be suicide. The colony is splitting into two factions, those who are loyal to Earth, and those who want Mars to be independent. 4. A deadly secret buried in the Martian soil. Something was here before us. For decades, scientists have searched for signs of past life on Mars. They expected bacteria, fossils, ancient microbial remnants. They never expected this. Signs that something is wrong. A geologist uncovers a strange metallic object, buried deep beneath the surface. The colony's AI begins picking up unexplained signals, patterns that don't match natural formations. A drone exploring underground lava tubes goes offline. When it reboots, its data logs are missing. The scientist who made a breakthrough disappears, leaving only a cryptic note. It wasn't meant to be found. The discovery is kept secret, but rumors begin to spread. Some colonists believe it's proof of intelligent life. Others fear it could be something dangerous. Whatever it is, someone doesn't want the truth to be revealed. 5. A power struggle between science and survival. Scientists versus engineers versus the mission's leaders. The colony was supposed to be about exploration, science and discovery, but now, survival takes priority. Food supplies are tight, machinery is failing, people are struggling, and not everyone agrees on what should come first. Signs of conflict brewing. The head engineer argues that all resources should go toward making the colony self-sustaining. The scientists refuse to abandon their research, even if it means using up critical supplies. The mission commander wants to cut communication with Earth, believing that delays in decision-making could get people killed. A secret black market trade begins. Colonists start hoarding rations, batteries and oxygen tanks. The tension is growing. People are starting to pick sides. If things get worse, will it still be a colony? or will it become a fight for power? 6. The first Martian crime murder on Mars. On Earth, crime is handled by governments, laws and police, but what happens when the first crime is committed on Mars? Signs of an unfolding mystery. A colonist vanishes without a trace. A violent fight breaks out in the lower habitat. Someone is injured, and another person refuses to explain why. A supply airlock is found open, wasting precious oxygen, but it wasn't an accident. A coded message is found, warning of something coming. Trust no one. Mars was supposed to be a fresh start, but human nature doesn't change. Will Mars be a utopia, or will it fall to the same flaws, corruption and violence that have plagued Earth? Conclusion: the breaking point is near. Everything seemed perfect at first, an ambitious new world, built by dreamers and explorers. But now the colony stands on the edge of something darker. Psychological stress is breaking people down. Political divisions threaten unity. Unexplained failures are raising fears of sabotage. A dangerous discovery could change everything. And the first crime on Mars might just be the beginning. Mars was supposed to be a new chapter for humanity. Instead, it might be the beginning of our greatest conflict yet. Escalating tension. How the atmosphere shifts before the main conflict introduction. The slow descent into chaos. At first, Mars was a dream, a fresh start for humanity, a symbol of unity and perseverance. The colony stood as a testament to human ambition, a fragile outpost on an alien world. But now that dream is unraveling. What started as small annoyances and minor setbacks have turned into fear, paranoia, and open hostility. Tensions rise like the red Martian dust before a storm. The colonists feel it in the air. Something is coming, something that will shatter the delicate balance of survival. This is the calm before the storm, the moment before everything falls apart. Let's break down how the atmosphere shifts, slowly turning Mars from a land of hope into a battleground of human nature. 1. The pressure of survival becomes unbearable. The essentials are running low. Mars has no safety net. Every breath of air, every drop of water, every calorie of food must be accounted for. How the tension builds. Water levels are dropping faster than expected. A colonist is caught hoarding supplies, claiming they don't trust the system anymore. Oxygen filtration systems are showing signs of failure. Not enough to kill, but enough to make people lightheaded and irritable. Rations are being cut. People snap at each other in the dining hall over portion sizes. Even those who remain calm feel the strain. Every problem has a solution, but they keep stacking up, and it's only a matter of time before something breaks. 2. Communication with Earth weakens, or is cut off. The colony feels more isolated than ever. At first, Earth was a distant but comforting presence. Even with the 20-minute delay in communication, messages from home reminded the settlers that they weren't alone. But then, something changes. How the tension builds.
The breaking point. The main conflict erupts. Introduction. The moment everything falls apart. Mars was never meant to be easy. From the moment the first settlers arrived, they knew survival depended on trust, discipline, and cooperation. But trust is gone. Tension has been building for weeks. Resources are missing, leadership is collapsing, and paranoia is spreading like a virus. The colony has split into factions, each believing they hold the key to survival. And now, at this moment, words are no longer enough. The colony is at war with itself. 1. The event that triggers the conflict, a decision that divides the colony. Everything was already on edge, but then one event forces every colonist to take a side. Possible triggers for the final confrontation. An explosion in the main habitat. A critical power reactor is sabotaged, plunging the colony into darkness and chaos. The water supply is contaminated. The only source of drinkable water is compromised, and someone did it on purpose. A colonist is killed, whether by accident or murder. Someone is dead, and the other settlers immediately begin pointing fingers. A group attempts a coup. One faction decides to seize control, declaring the current leadership unfit to rule. Whatever the event, it shatters any hope of peace. Within minutes, the colony is no longer a united front, it is a battlefield. 2. The sides are drawn, the two opposing forces. At first, tensions were vague and scattered, but now they are clear, defined, and violent. Loyalist, mission control followers, believe Earth is still in control and they must follow orders and protocol to survive. See the rebels as reckless, dangerous, and a threat to humanity's future. Led by the mission commander, or what's left of them. The Martian revolutionaries, the independent faction, believe Mars should govern itself, and that Earth's authority is meaningless now. See the loyalists as weak, naive, and afraid of change. Led by a former engineer or scientist, someone who has lost faith in the mission. Where the neutrals caught in the crossfire, just want to survive. Try to broker peace, but realize no one is listening anymore. May eventually be forced to choose a side when survival depends on it. Lines are drawn, weapons are improvised, The final confrontation is coming. 3. The first act of violence. The first shot is fired. For a few tense moments, no one moves. The factions stand in a standoff, waiting for someone to make the first move. Then it happens. Scenarios that could spark the violence. 1 Ceylon. First, a colonist is attacked. Someone loses control and lashes out, igniting the fight. Someone Nutcher a Kund is fired. A weapon, maybe a repurposed mining tool, goes off and suddenly it's a battle. 3 Ceylon. First, a system is sabotaged. One faction disables the other's access to food, water, or power, forcing an all-out war for resources. Someone betrays their own side. A loyalist switches sides, or a revolutionary secretly feeds intel to Earth. The moment the violence begins, there is no going back. 4. The chaos of battle. A fight for survival. Mars is not a battlefield. It is an enclosed, fragile space, where one wrong move could kill everyone. How the battle unfolds. The airlock becomes a war zone. The revolutionaries try to take control of the main airlock, cutting off the loyalists' access to supplies. A fire breaks out in the habitat. Someone ignites a gas leak, and now both sides are fighting in smoke-filled corridors. The AI malfunctions. The colony's security system goes rogue, locking doors and shutting down life support in certain areas. An escape attempt is made. A group of settlers tries to flee in a supply rover, but they are ambushed and forced to turn back. Martian combat rules. No open gunfights. Bullets could pierce the habitats, killing everyone. Hand-to-hand combat and makeshift weapons. Wrenches, crowbars, mining tools, anything that can be used in a fight. Oxygen control is a weapon. Some colonists start shutting off air supply to their enemies. The colony is falling apart. 5. The personal cost of war. Friends turn against friends. The worst part of the conflict is not the physical battle, it's the emotional destruction. Moments that show the human cost. A scientist pleads with their former best friend, trying to stop the bloodshed, only to be struck down in the fight. A young colonist hides in terror, realizing that their parents are fighting on opposite sides. A loyalist and a revolutionary get trapped together in a failing airlock, forced to work together, even as they hate each other. No one wanted this war, but now there is no way to undo it. 6. The turning point. One final act decides everything. The battle has raged for hours, maybe days. The colony is in ruins, systems failing, bodies on the ground, the dream of Mars in shambles. Then something happens that changes everything. Possible endings to the conflict. Someone Lecture Eth intervenes. A final message from Earth orders an end to the war, but do the colonists still care? Someone Lecture a catastrophic system failure. The fight is interrupted by a major disaster, radiation leak, loss of oxygen, reactor meltdown. Suddenly the factions must work together, or die. 3 Ceylon. Thirst. The revolution succeeds. The loyalist leader is overthrown or killed, and the rebels declare Mars independent. But at what cost? 4 Ceylon. Thirst. The last betrayal. A neutral party double-crosses both sides, taking control of the colony in the aftermath. No matter what happens, the colony will never be the same. 7. Aftermath. What remains? The colony is changed forever. As the dust settles, the survivors realize there is no going back. Consequences of the war. The population is cut in half. Some died, others fled into the wilderness, never to be seen again. The colony's infrastructure is ruined. Air filters broken. Food supplies dangerously low. The winning side takes control, but distrust lingers. Will this happen again? Some settlers abandon Mars altogether, choosing to risk a one-way escape back to Earth. Mars was supposed to be a new beginning for humanity. Instead, it has become a graveyard of dreams and ambition. Conclusion. The future of Mars is uncertain. The first war on Mars is over. But what happens next? Will the colony recover and rebuild? Will Earth see this as a failure and abandon Mars? Or is this just the beginning of a new Martian civilization, forged in the fire of war? One thing is certain. Mars will never be the same again. Character reactions. How the colonists respond to the conflict. Introduction. The shock waves of war. The colony was meant to be a symbol of human progress, a beacon of exploration and cooperation. But after the first war on Mars, it has become something else, a place of division, loss, and shattered ideals. Every colonist, regardless of which side they were on, must now face the consequences of what has happened. Some will adapt, some will break, and others will seek revenge. How do the survivors react? How does war change them? This is how the human spirit responds to destruction, in fear, anger, regret, and resilience. 1. The leader who lost control. Mission Commander Evelyn Carter. Loyalist leader Carter was supposed to be the voice of reason, the guiding hand that kept the colony together, but she failed. Her reaction: guilt and self-blame. She replays every decision, wondering where she went wrong. Desperation to rebuild. She knows that without leadership, the colony will collapse completely. Paranoia. She doesn't trust anyone anymore. Even her closest allies may turn on her. What happens next? She tries to re-establish order, but few are willing to listen. Some blame her for the war. They want her removed, or worse. She must decide whether to cling to authority, or step down before someone forces her out. Carter is haunted by one question: did I fail my people, or did they fail me? 2. The rebel who won, but at what cost? Marcus Hale, leader of the Martian revolutionaries. For Hale, the war was necessary. He fought for freedom from Earth, for Mars to be independent. But now that the battle is over, reality is setting in. His reaction: triumph mixed with horror. He won, but how many people had to die for it? Struggle to lead. He was a warrior, not a governor. What happens now? Fear of revenge. He knows the loyalists are still out there, waiting for a chance to take back control. What happens next? He tries to establish a new government, but ruling is harder than fighting. He is seen as a hero by some, and a tyrant by others. The people who fought alongside him are starting to ask questions. Was this worth it? For the first time, Hale wonders, did we actually win? 3. The survivor who just wants to move on. Dr. Elena Ruiz, neutral scientist, caught in the crossfire. Elena never wanted to take a side. She came to Mars for science, not war, but war didn't care. She lost friends, research, and faith in the mission. Her reaction: bitterness and exhaustion. She is tired of the fighting, the politics, the power struggles. Focus on survival. She buries herself in repairing equipment, fixing damage, and keeping people alive. Disillusioned. She once believed in a better future for Mars. Now she only believes in surviving the present. What happens next? She tries to rebuild what was lost, working with anyone willing to help, no matter their past loyalties. She considers abandoning Mars altogether. Maybe it was a mistake to come here at all. If another war breaks out, she will not sit by and watch again. For now, Elena focuses on fixing things, but she knows some things will never be fixed. 4. The soldier who wants revenge. Darren Kwan, loyalist fighter who lost everything. Darren was a loyal defender of Earth's authority, but his side lost. His friends are dead. His future is uncertain, and he is angry. His reaction: hatred and vengeance. He blames Hale and the rebels for everything. Refusal to accept defeat. He doesn't care if the war is over. He will fight again. Growing desperation. He knows he is outnumbered, but he would rather die fighting than submit. What happens next? He forms a resistance, a small group of ex-loyalists who refuse to let the rebels rule. He begins sabotaging the new government, planting explosives, cutting power lines. He plans an assassination. If Hale dies, the war will start again. Darren whispers to himself, this isn't over. Not yet. 5. The betrayer who disappears. Samantha Vaughn, the opportunist who played both sides. Samantha never cared about politics. She only cared about staying alive. When the war started, she played both sides. She smuggled food, sold weapons, and whispered secrets to whoever paid the most. Now she has enemies everywhere. Her reaction: no loyalty, no regrets. She did what she had to do, and she doesn't care what people think. Fear of being caught. She knows someone will eventually come for her, looking for a way out. Mars is dangerous, but maybe she can still escape. What happens next? She steals a rover and disappears into the Martian wilderness. Some say she is heading to an abandoned research station, where other outcasts might be hiding. Others say she left a message on a secret channel, a call for someone from Earth to come get her. No one knows if she will survive out there alone, but Samantha Vaughn always finds a way. 6. The youngest colonist, and the future of Mars. Daniel Cooper, the first Martian-born child. Daniel was born on Mars. He never knew Earth, and now he has grown up in war. His reaction: confusion and sadness. He doesn't understand why his home is filled with so much anger. Curiosity. He asks questions others avoid. Why do we have to fight? A new perspective. Unlike the others, he does not see loyalists or revolutionaries, only survivors. What happens next? He begins recording stories from both sides, trying to understand what led to the war. Some believe he will be the one to unite Mars, but only if he survives long enough. He starts asking the most dangerous question of all. What if we stop calling ourselves Earthlings or Martians? What if we just live? Conclusion: a colony forever changed. The war is over, but its scars remain. Some will try to rebuild, some will seek revenge, some will simply survive, and some, like Daniel, will try to create a new path. Mars was supposed to be a new beginning. Now it is a place of uncertainty, conflict, and impossible choices, and every survivor must ask themselves, what happens next? Aftermath of conflict. The fragile remains of the Mars colony introduction. Picking up the pieces. The dust has settled. The shouting has stopped. The battle that ripped through the colony, whether it lasted hours or days, is over. But Mars doesn't care about human war. The planet remains cold, lifeless and silent, indifferent to the struggles of the settlers. Inside the damaged colony, survivors stagger through the ruins of their own making. Some are injured, some are grieving, and some are already plotting what comes next. Mars is still there. The colony still stands, but what remains is broken. 1. The immediate fallout: bodies in the hallways. Some died in the conflict, their bodies now lying in the corridors. The airlocks: the shattered remains of the command center. How the survivors react. Some weep, mourning those they lost. Some stare blankly, still in shock, unable to process what has happened. Some move silently, dragging the bodies away. Because there is no burial on Mars, no one speaks of justice. Not yet. The only priority is keeping the rest alive. The injured and the dying. The colony's medical bay is overwhelmed. There are too many wounded, and not enough medicine, not enough hands, not enough hope. How the survivors respond. Doctors and engineers scramble to make improvised treatments. Some colonists volunteer to help, but others walk away, too broken to care anymore. A decision is made. Some injuries are too severe. Limited resources mean not everyone can be saved. Someone has to decide who lives and who is left to die, and not everyone agrees on who deserves a second chance. 2. The state of the colony: systems are failing. The colony's infrastructure was not built for war. Now the damage is catastrophic. The main generator is crippled. Power flickers, unreliable. The water filtration system is leaking. Supplies rapidly dwindling. The AI control system is glitching, giving contradictory orders, as if it's trying to repair itself after the chaos. Survival is now the only mission. Engineers work around the clock, but with limited tools, damaged equipment, and dwindling morale, there is no guarantee that they can save the colony. The air feels different. The colony used to feel like a home, a refuge in the vast emptiness of Mars. Now it feels haunted. People move in silence, afraid of each other. Weapons are still being carried, even though the fighting has stopped. Old friends no longer trust each other. The war is over, but the real battle, the battle for survival, is just beginning. 3. The struggle for power: who is in charge now? With leaders dead, missing, or disgraced, the colony has no clear authority. Laka left, the power struggle begins. The revolutionaries declare victory, but their leader, Marcus Hale, seems uncertain, exhausted, maybe even guilty. The remnants of the loyalists refuse to submit. Some want revenge, others just want stability. The neutrals try to broker peace, but no one is willing to listen. Without leadership, chaos could return at any moment. Will new elections be held? Will one faction seize control? Or will the colony simply descend into anarchy? The wounds of war haven't even healed, but already another battle is brewing. 4. The psychological fallout: guilt, trauma, and broken minds. Everyone lost something. Some lost loved ones. Some lost faith in the mission. Some lost themselves. How people react to the trauma. Some refuse to speak, withdrawing into themselves. Some are consumed by guilt, replaying the violence over and over in their minds. Some believe they did the right thing, and feel nothing at all. Nightmares creep into the few restless hours of sleep the survivors get. For many, Mars is no longer a home. It is a graveyard. 5. The search for missing colonists. Some have vanished. During the chaos, some colonists disappeared. Were they once alive? Killed and lost in the rubble. Once alive fair. Gifford captured by the opposing side. Gifford into a near a sep. Saving in the tunnels beneath the colony, or saving into the Martian wilderness. Search teams go out looking, but some whisper, maybe they don't want to be found. For the first time, people wonder, is it safer out there, alone in the vast red desert, than inside the colony? 6. The darkest realization: there might not be a future. For months the colonists believed in the mission. Even in the worst times, they had hope.
Now that hope is dying. Harsh realities they must now face. Earth has stopped responding. The supply shipments are not coming. The food will run out in weeks, not months. There is no backup plan, no reinforcements, no rescue mission. This is it. For the first time, someone asks the most terrifying question of all. Is Mars just our tomb? 7. A choice must be made, the final crossroad. The colony is at a breaking point. There are 3 possible futures. 1 Salon, rebuild and unite. Set aside old grudges. Work together to serve. 1 Salon, divide and collapse. Splinter into factions again, leading to another war. They might not survive. Yifer Kiev into the unknown. Some whisper of leaving the colony behind. Searching for another way to survive on Mars. There is no easy answer. But one thing is certain. If they cannot decide together, then they will die alone. Conclusion. The future is unwritten. The battle was only the beginning. Now the real question remains. Can they rebuild? Will another war break out? Is Mars still a dream worth fighting for? For some the answer is yes. For others, the answer no longer matters. One way or another, the future of Mars will be decided in the next few weeks. And this time, there will be no second chances. The shift. Moving into the next phase of the conflict. The war should have ended, but it didn't. The fires have stopped burning. The shouting has faded into silence, and the dead have been buried, or left behind. But peace has not returned. Instead, the colony is caught in a slow, dangerous spiral, shifting towards something even worse than open war. A world of distrust, power plays, and desperation. The question is no longer who won. The question is what happens now. 1. The illusion of peace. The war is over, but the battle continues on the surface. Things look stable. The factions have called a ceasefire, and a fragile new system of leadership is being negotiated. But the reality is much darker. Former enemies still glare at each other in silence, gripping their makeshift weapons. Supplies are dangerously low, and every decision about food, water, and oxygen is a fight waiting to happen. Leaders hold secret meetings, whispering plans that may lead to another conflict. Everyone pretends they want peace. No one actually trusts it. 2. The factions are shifting new alliances. Form old ones shatter. The war created clear sides, but now loyalties are breaking down. Some revolutionaries no longer believe in the cause, realizing that independence means isolation and death. Some former loyalists want revenge, refusing to accept the new order. Where a new group emerges, those who simply want survival, no matter the cost. The lines that once divided the colony are no longer clear. Now it's not about who was on which side during the war. Now it's about who has power and who doesn't. 3. The first sign that the war isn't really over, a new act of violence. Everything is fragile, and then something happens that sends the colony back into chaos. Possible sparks for the next collapse. A key leader is assassinated. A body is found in the main corridor. Throats. No one takes credit, but everyone suspects someone. 2. The main reactor is sabotaged. Power flickers and fails. In the darkness, panic spreads. 3. Supply supplies are deliberately poisoned or stolen. Someone wants to push the colony past its breaking point. Who did it? Why? No one knows. But the message is clear. This war is far from over. 4. The final breaking point. The last hope is gone for weeks. Some colonists held on to hope that Earth would send more supplies, that the colony could still survive, that things could go back to normal. But then the final, crushing blow arrives. The last transmission from Earth comes in. It is short, static-filled, and full of interference. One phrase is barely heard before the signal cuts off completely. You are on your own. Silence. No more supplies. No more backup. No more lifeline. The colony is now truly alone. And with that realization, all illusions of order collapse. The next phase of the story begins. One that will determine if Mars is humanity's future, or its grave. What has been lost? The true cost of conflict. Introduction. A colony in ruins. When the first settlers landed on Mars, they carried hope, ambition, and the dream of a new beginning. They believed in progress, in unity, in the power of humanity to conquer the impossible. But that dream is gone. The colony is broken, blood-stained, and teetering on the edge of collapse. War has taken more than love. It has stolen the future Mars was supposed to have. Now as the survivors wander through the wreckage, one question remains. What is left to fight for? 1. The death toll. Lives that can't be replaced. Those who will never see Earth again. Every name on the colony's casualty list represents a person who once had a purpose, a dream, a reason to be here. Now they are gone, buried under Martian dust, lost in the darkness of an airlock, or simply missing. their fates unknown. The human cost. Scientists who once studied Mars's mysteries, now silenced forever. Doctors who tried to heal, but couldn't save themselves. Engineers who built the colony, only to die in its destruction. Friends who fought on opposite sides, never to reconcile. The colony was already a fragile ecosystem. Every death makes survival that much harder. There are too few hands left to rebuild, and some wounds don't heal. Those who remain will never forget the faces of the fallen. 2. Trust, the first and greatest casualty. The end of brotherhood. Before the war, the colony was a family, small, isolated, but united in the belief that they were in this together. That unity is gone. What's been broken? No one trusts their neighbors anymore. People sleep with weapons close at hand, afraid of another attack. Suspicion infects every interaction. Did someone really make a mistake? Or are they sabotaging the colony? Leaders are powerless. No one believes authority anymore. Obedience is a relic of the past. Without trust, there is no colony. There are only survivors, watching their backs, waiting for the next betrayal. 3. The colony's infrastructure. A system on the brink. The machines that keep them alive are dying. Mars is not Earth. There is no breathable air, no running water, no fertile. Everything was built but nothing was built for war. Critical losses. The oxygen supply is unstable. One more major failure, and there won't be enough air for everyone. The solar grid is damaged. Power flickers unpredictably, shutting down essential systems at the worst moments. The water reserves are dangerously low. The filtration system was sabotaged, and now rationing is no longer a choice. It's life or death. The AI control system is corrupted. It no longer takes orders correctly, sometimes locking colonists out of their own living quarters. Without these systems, Mars is a death sentence, and they don't have the resources to fix everything. 4. The future of the mission. A dream in ruins. Mars was supposed to be a new beginning. The colony wasn't just about survival. It was about building the first human civilization on another planet. Now that vision is gone. What's been lost? Science has stopped. No one is exploring Mars anymore. They are too busy trying to stay alive. Expansion is impossible. Plans for new habitats, better energy sources, and agricultural projects are abandoned. No one believes in the mission anymore. What was once a dream is now a prison. Instead of becoming the foundation of a new world, the colony has become a tomb of ambition, filled with people who no longer believe in tomorrow. 5. The last contact with Earth. The final blow, hope, fades to nothing for months. Earth was a distant but comforting presence. Now that connection is gone. The last transmission from Earth, static-filled, barely understandable. One chilling message: we are losing contact. Supplies are limited. You are on your own. Then nothing. No more messages. No more backup. No more future. Some colonists still watch the communication console, waiting for a miracle. Most have given up. If Earth has abandoned them, what's left to hope for? 6. Morality. What people have become. Survival changes. People. The war didn't just destroy the colony. It changed the people who survived. How people have changed. Some have become killers, no longer flinching at taking a life. Some have become thieves, stealing food, hoarding supplies, watching others starve. Some have become ghosts, walking through the ruins, saying nothing, feeling nothing. And some are starting to enjoy the chaos. The idea of law, order, and civilization feels laughable now. Mars is no longer humanity's second home. It is a wasteland where only the ruthless will survive. 7. The choice that must be made. This can't last forever. The colony is at a breaking point. There are only 2 paths forward. One, try to rebuild, forgive, unite, somehow salvage what's left. 2. Self-delay. Self. The colony collapse. Accept that Mars is a failure, and humanity was never meant to be here. Some want to fight for a second chance. Others just want to escape before Mars buries them all. Either way, this is not sustainable. A decision must be made. Conclusion. What's left to fight for? The war took everything. Lives, trust, resources, hope. The colony was supposed to be the future. Now it's barely holding on. But not everyone is ready to give up. Some still believe in Mars. Some still believe that survival means something. The final question is not what has been lost. It's what can still be saved.